congratulations for having made it through to the last of these 4 book club videos produced by Bethlem Museum of the Mind to promote the reading of Robert Burton's classic book, The Anatomy of Melancholy, albeit in an abridged form. I'm Colin Gale, the director of the museum, and I'm standing in the museum now, next to an untitled work by the mid-20th century artist Cynthia Pell, which by its palette and its subject matter conveys a very strong sense of melancholy. Along with other artworks featured in the background of this short video series, this work featured in a temporary exhibition here at the museum back in 2019. That exhibition took its name and its inspiration from The Anatomy of Melancholy, and particularly from its famous frontispiece, which depicted 6 causes of melancholy: sickness, solitude, jealousy, disappointment in love, insanity, and religious melancholy. Since you saw the last video, I hope you have had a chance to read the final partition of the book, at least in one of the abridged versions we have been recommending all along, the Stan's Cafe edition or the version introduced by Nicholas Robbins. If you have, you will know that love melancholy, covering both jealousy and disappointment in love, and religious melancholy are treated in that final section. Also, if you have read this section, you'll know that the love melancholy part of it contains what Dr. Mary Ann Lund of the University of Leicester has called an extended misogynistic rant. You'll find that quotation in a closing reflection printed at the end of the Stan's Cafe edition. It would be comforting to view Burton's androcentrism as no more than a historical artifact. But in the present cultural moment, it's probably better to regard it as a warning from history. To be fair to our author, he does insist on page 93 of the Stan's Cafe edition, it's not in Robbins, that what he says about women no more concerns them than men, though women be more frequently named, and that what is said of the one may, for the most part, be understood of the other. In its proper historical context, the gendered character of Robert Burton's analysis is not the most remarkable thing about it. What is remarkable is that on page 83 of the Stan's Cafe edition and on page 73 of the Robbins edition, Burton declares love itself to be a species of melancholy, and thus a necessary part of his book. Later, on page 95 of Stan's Cafe and page 81 of Robbins, he writes that of all the passions, love is most violent, and of those bitter potions which this love melancholy affords, jealousy is the greatest. Presumably, he devoted half of his final partition to this subject because he believed that love itself, together with all its consequences, to be a chief driver of melancholy. Burton was hard-headed when it came to recommending remedies for parties who had experienced disappointment in love. On page 92 of Stan's Cafe, but again, not in the Robbins abridgment, he writes, "Send the disappointed lovers, send them several ways, that they may neither hear of, see, nor have an opportunity to send to one another again. Travelling is an antidote to love. Time and patience wear away pain and grief, as fire goes out from want of fuel." Or, for a more speedy alteration, he recommends this. For a more speedy alteration, they must commend another paramour, set him or her to be wooed, or to woo some other, that shall be fairer, or of better note. His advice here boils down to the practical observation that there are plenty of fish in the sea. I must leave it to you to decide whether that would be comforting to a broken heart. Several times now I've noted places where text has been missed out in the Robbins edition, but there's a significant omission actually in the Stan's Cafe edition of this partition, and that is that virtually the entire section of religious melancholy has been missed out. Dr. Mary Ann Lund regards this as a significant departure on the part of the abridgers, and she's right to do so. As far as Burton is concerned, on page 84 of Robbins, the whole world could not generate so much matter of madness, so many stupid symptoms, as superstition, heresy, and schism has brought about. Religious melancholy does more harm and has more crucified the souls of mortal men than wars, plagues, sicknesses, dearth, famine, and all the rest. It's worth saying Burton's diatribe is not against religion in total. He was, after all, a clergyman himself, but against what he regards as bad religion. Now, to work out the difference in his mind between good and bad religion would involve plunging deep into the politics of the English Church of the 1620s and 1630s, which Dr. Lund believes the writers of the Stan's Cafe edition were wise to avoid. But despite all the prejudice that is on show in this final section, which you can only read about in the Robbins edition, despite all that, Burton unerringly identifies what is most to be feared about religious melancholy, which in one word is despair. Most violent, tragical, and grievous, the privation of all happiness, not to be endured. That's from page 91 of Robbins. His closing precept, his parting advice to the reader on page 97 of Stan's Cafe and page 93 of Robbins, is give not way to solitariness and idleness. Be not solitary, be not idle. That, I think, is good advice, even if it's hard to follow. It's good advice for everyone in the circumstances we're facing at the time of making this video. Robert Burton would have recognised the present moment we are in as a time of plague and sickness, and would have understood the instruction to stay at home and save lives. Happily, many of us have access to the technology needed to follow the advice of the Anatomy of Melancholy to be not solitary, be not idle, even in a time of shutdown. We have every reason to count ourselves fortunate beyond the imagination of Robert Burton and his 17th century contemporaries. Well, we've come to the end of our shared reading of the Anatomy of Melancholy. I hope you've enjoyed and benefited from reading it, as well as maybe from watching these videos. Now that our book club has come to an end, we would like to invite your feedback via our social media platforms. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find a link to an online survey in the comments section below. And everyone who completes a survey about their experience of the book club will be eligible to receive a booklet produced by the museum about our 2019 Anatomy of Melancholy exhibition. All you need to do is complete and submit the survey, then provide us with your postal address, and we'll post out the booklet to you free of charge. Please continue to add your comments in YouTube or Facebook, and stay in touch with us via our social media channels. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.